Yes, please. Yeah, if you don't mind. I need just to do it. Already? Okay. Okay. It's up to you.
Oh, all right.
I gave you yours, right?
Easy. Yep. That will work.
Did I tell you that Cruise we're giving you guys, Cruise is giving you $250?
Hey, how's it going, Randy?
I made a motion for 500.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's yours. But just if you want to follow along,
Okay.
if they come up.
All right.
Yep.
So,
Yes, sir.
Oh, I gotta get closer to you. Oh, my mic is off.
certain things will be
No, I would never. It is now 6:59, asking everyone to put their phones on vibrate or silent this time. It is now 7 p.m. I want to welcome everyone to the City Council meeting, our regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, and we always start our meeting with the invocation led by our Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, our neighbor and friend, Mr. Zander, will be doing both. If you all would please stand up and join us.
Most gracious God and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We pray for our council meeting tonight, that this goes through again, make this smooth as possible. And we love all the people here and the council also. And we just wanted to keep Eastpointe, Michigan going and just do what we have to do, God. And we just we love you and we care about you, and we do think that you are great to our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Zander, again. We have two proclamations on our agenda. The first is honoring the life of Mayor James F. Kelly, and the second one is the National Women's History Month of 2023. Let me go to the first proclamation. I don't know if anyone is in the audience for Mr. Kelly. Oh, hi, okay. We're going to go out front, all of council, if you don't mind, and read this proclamation. While we're down there, we can just go ahead and read the women's proclamation too.
All right, everyone in the audience, our previous mayor, Jim Kelly, passed away. This will be a proclamation for him. He's the gentleman from the end here, if you haven't met him before. All right, the city of Eastpointe proclaims that we're honoring the life of, sorry.
Before we start,
Sure.
Can you let us know who you are so all the audience can know who you are?
I'm Catherine Kelly. I'm Jim's wife.
Okay.
And normally I go by Jim myself, but I'm JJ, his son.
Oh, wow, thank you for being here. Sorry about your loss. Sorry about that, Councilman.
No, great idea. All right, honoring the life of Mayor James F. Kelly. Whereas Jim Kelly was born April 27th, 1956, and was the loving husband of Catherine for 43 years. Whereas Jim Kelly was the dear father of James and Stephanie Kelly and Kevin and Maren Kelly. He was a grandfather to 5 and a brother to 3. Whereas Jim Kelly was the mayor of Eastpointe in 2003 and served as mayor pro tem prior to that. Whereas Jim Kelly served as a trustee and chairman of the Macomb Community College Board of Trustees from 2004 to 2016. Whereas Jim Kelly was on the faculty at Baker College and enjoyed working for several nonprofit organizations that assisted people with disabilities and the homeless. Whereas Jim Kelly was a member of St. Veronica's Catholic Church in Eastpointe for his entire life. Whereas Jim Kelly was active in numerous boards and commissions in the city over the years, in addition to other civic and social organizations. Whereas it is clear that Jim Kelly served his community with pride and passion and put his blood, sweat, and tears into it. Jim Kelly lived in the city until his passing. Now, therefore, the mayor and council for the city of Eastpointe do hereby proclaim that Mayor James F. Kelly is hereby recognized for his contributions to the community as a husband, father, brother, councilman, mayor, trustee, and member of many organizations, boards, and commissions, proclaimed the 7th day of March, 2023.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, is that the one?
One copy's
Women's
give
history.
to the family and one's for, well, let's give the other copy then, I guess.
I said 3.
This is the other proclamation here.
I just signed one. Okay, that one. Okay, while we're down here, I'm going to read the National Women's History Month. I don't know if you want to read it or anybody else, but I don't know if you're ready. You're fine? Okay. Let me sign these 2 proclamations real quick. I always want to make sure I give council the opportunity to read a proclamation. They so fit. Yes, ma'am. I don't know if you read one since you've been elected. That's why I'm like, it's up to you. Okay. The City of Eastpointe Proclamation for National Women's History Month, March 2023. Whereas the City of Eastpointe recognizes the month of March as Women's History Month, established in 1987 by Congress to celebrate the contributions American women have made to strengthen and lead the nation since its inception. And whereas Women's History Month honors women of every race, status, and ethnicity who has challenged the social and legal structures that have kept women's labor underappreciated and underrepresented throughout history to establish an equal role for women, ensuring the appreciation and value of equitable labor for future generations. And whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also at the forefront of every major progressive social change movement in history, paving the way for future generations to enjoy the unalienable rights, duties, and responsibilities afforded equally to all citizens of the United States of America. And whereas each woman is extraordinary in her own way, proving that women working inside the home or outside in academia, science, technology, business, labor, governance, and more maintain a critical role in every sphere of society. Now, therefore, we, the City Council for the City of Eastpointe, do hereby recognize March as Women's History Month to honor women everywhere for their outstanding achievements and invaluable contributions to society. Thank you to all the women. Give the women a hand. And again, our condolences to the family of the late Mayor Kelly as well. All right. Roll call. Good evening, Ms. Holman.
Good evening. Councilmember Baker,
Here.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
Present.
Councilmember Curley,
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Here.
Mayor Owens.
Here. Approval of the agenda, please.
Move that we approve the agenda for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Here. Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Next is the hearing of the public. We have one in the beginning and one at the end. Each time you get 3 minutes. The hearing of the public is now open.
Mayor, if I may, I have an email to read.
Okay.
It's dated March 7th. I am unable to attend tonight's city council meeting and would like my comments read during the hearing of the public. This is from Cindy Federley. I know that it's not necessary for council to inform the public of the reason for abstaining during a vote, but I must remind council that you represent us, the voters. Your personal opinion should not take precedence over the voters' wishes. It would be nice if Councilperson Communiz would inform us of her reason for abstaining from the vote on the medical marijuana business. While on the subject of abstaining from a vote, I feel that Mayor Owens should not have voted for the city to spend $800 to join a group that will potentially benefit her and her 4 businesses. There is a conflict of interest and lack of integrity when approving a motion that will be personally advantageous. Thank you for including this in the hearing of the public. Cindy Federley. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Madam Mayor, Council,
Good evening.
Gary Myron, Eastpointe resident. I just want to let you know of rope lighting. We have 31 violating businesses, and I thought all this was supposed to stop, but it seems like it's increasing. And I have all the names and addresses.
Thank you.
And that's all I wanted for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Good evening, Council. Mary Hall Rayford, Eastpointe resident. I wanted to remind not just elected officials, but everyone else, the importance of understanding the roles in which people are elected to and the importance of vetting candidates. We've seen in the news countless occasions where we've run into candidates or elected officials have run into issues and voters are upset. I think we can avoid that by knowing who it is we're voting for to start with. I think that's extremely important, especially the local election. We need to know who it is we're sitting in a place or position of decision-making, because decision-making has to be made for everyone in the city, not just one group. And everyone who's elected or appointed needs to be able to set aside their own personal beliefs and agendas in order to govern for all. This is extremely important. And when I look around and hear complaints, we have issues and we need to set about trying to solve them rather than dividing the city as to who says or does what. I believe that together we can make this the family town that it needs to be. With regards to community health, I'd like to draw your attention to, there are some flyers in the lobby regarding 2 health fairs that are coming up. First one on the 25th of this month at Emmanuel. The second one is in Roseville. This is an opportune time for people to get screening regardless of insurance, because it's free to everyone. And there are a number of prizes that are being raffled out that you might be interested in. So if you haven't seen the flyer, grab one on your way out. And have a good evening. Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, Mr. Albright, City Administration, and members of the public who are here with us. My name's Erin Hardcastle. I worked in the past for the city. During that time, I developed relationships with local business owners and investors. After leaving, I was approached and asked to serve in a number of different capacities to bring projects that were in the early stages of discussion to completion. I understood and apologized to council and the public I was under the belief that there was an agenda item that the council would be considering this evening related to the vacation of the alley on 8 Mile. This was a subject of the review by the council last June, and the council voted unanimously in approval and directed city administration to complete the vacation of the alley. I'm just here to ask, if possible, make the council aware of a bit of the history. There were a number of meetings with discussions about installation, of fencing and gate, which is related to the vacation of the alley. The clinic secured funding and made an application in May, and after 6 weeks, they were issued a permit, which would have been last June 30th. When the contractors began work, they were told to stop and told that there was an issue with the permit that they were issued, but after some back and forth, there was confusion. I've been asked to try and get that resolved. It's my understanding that the permit's expired. The property owner is still not able to use the fence that they've gone to great length and expense to have there at the property. This was one of the suggestions that came into being during meetings with the previous city manager, Ms. Doom, our current city manager, Ms. Walton, and meetings even with our director, Rohib, where he suggested that we hire armed security at the clinic to ensure people's safety and to minimize calls to the police department and let them focus their attention on other things as they deal with protesters and other kind of issues. So I thank you very much for your time. I just would hope that perhaps somebody might be able to give us some direction if there's something that we need to do as the property owners or representatives to finalize that issue with the vacation of the alley and make sure the property's in good standing. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Did you email us all that information? Because you had Ms. Hardcastle put that in an email. That was, I know we have this recorded, but if you want to email that,
Thank you.
and so we can get back to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Karen Belts, longtime Eastpointe resident. I'm here tonight to speak on remarks that have been made by this mayor over the last 3 years and that have been made during the hearing of the public regarding age. I feel comments such as women old enough to be the mayor's grandmother, great-grandmother, are inappropriate and should not be allowed. Comments of your so-called 60 years of wisdom, and some of you are getting ready to go meet your maker, and some of you are old enough to know better, have no valid reason to be said at city council meetings or when addressing residents. I don't understand the motivation of these comments. Are they attempts to insult older women? Are they attempts to discourage older residents from speaking? I do think that most of us can agree that these remarks are inappropriate from a mayor and at city council meetings.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Colette. I'm really nervous. I've never done this before. What Aaron was speaking about, the vacating of the alley and the fence, I'm a volunteer at that clinic. It is imperative for the safety of every woman and driver or family member that takes a patient to that clinic for the alley to be vacated. I have footage on my phone, on my social media of protesters driving through. If where the gate was closed, they wouldn't be able to come through. We have an armed guard for safety, but they still drive through the gate. You gave a wonderful speech about this is Women's Month and it's March and Eastpointe loves women. Please love the women that work at the clinic, the men and women that volunteer at the clinic, the patients and their families that bring them there. Please read the email, make it happen. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, City Council, residents. My name is Jeff Carter. I'm a resident of Eastpointe. I'm also a business owner in Eastpointe. And I just want to let everybody aware or know that we are having a walk for autism April 2nd. Starts at 11 a.m. It will be at Eastpointe High School. Anybody that knows anybody that has autism, that's on the spectrum, welcome to come. There are registration fees, and we would like to have volunteers if anybody decides they need a volunteer, so we would need some help with the event, things like that. Hopefully, we can leave some flyers out on the table. So if you guys like, please pick one up, read it, give us some contact. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Karen Marachin, Eastpointe resident. There's so much that needs to be done in this city. I know a lot of focus is on the 9 Mile project, but we've got bigger problems. We've got, people who are just blowing through the stop signs like they don't even exist, where, you're driving down the street, you have the right of way. You do not have the stop sign, but you got somebody that just blows right through it, causing you to have to slam on your brakes so they don't, smash right into you. This is a huge problem, and, I don't know how the police department's ever going to be able to get that under control. It's just starting to feel like the wild, wild west out here. Like, the laws and the ordinances, it's like, if I feel like following it, I will. If I feel like complying with it, I will. Or there's just that downright arrogance of those who just think that the laws and the ordinances do not apply to them whatsoever. And, you look at our court docket, it's pretty clogged. I addressed at the Planning Commission how business owners, we're lucky we've got some business owners that are really decent. They're decent owners, they're decent businesses. But when it comes around to the landlords, the resident agents, it is absolutely unacceptable for these resident agents to have this attitude of, don't bother us. In other words, they don't want to enforce the clause in the lease regarding the right to quiet enjoyment. They really could care less about how disruptive their tenants are. And the attitude is, what do you want me to do about it? The rent's paid, call the police. No, that's not fair to the police. And so it turns into this big, huge mess where you have the police department and the building department that should be working together in a spirit of cooperation, but it's just this back and forth where each department is saying,
30 seconds.
Nope, it's the other department's responsibility. And the most pressing of all is what's going on with our animals in the city. We desperately need an animal welfare commission, and I got to throw this in real quick because Easter's coming up. Do not buy Easter bunnies, chicks, or ducks. You don't know what you're doing. Don't take them on unless you plan on making a lifetime commitment. You can't
Time
just
is up
get them
now.
and dump them.
Thank you. You have an additional 3 minutes at the end. Oh, yes.
All right, I have one last letter that was actually sent in. It's anonymous and it's undated. We've also did a read-through, and it is over 3 minutes. A copy has been provided to council, and we do have it on file in the city manager's office if anyone would like to read it.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak at this time? Anyone else? Saying none, the first hearing of the public is now closed. Going to approval of minutes. Council?
Madam Mayor, I would move that we receive and file the minutes of the regular meeting for February 21st, 2023.
Second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
We have no scheduled hearings or unfinished business. Going to our reports from administration with our city manager, Ms. Mariah Walton. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First, I'd like to highlight our construction is still moving along. So of course, in the springtime, as in many other communities, in the spring, construction bureaus will be out. We already see people going down Gratiot for our water main. 9 Mile, of course, on the westbound has still been under construction. And we've been working with individuals that have had some difficulties during that. Filters are still available at the library, so if you haven't gotten a filter or need a replacement cartridge, please visit the library, DPW, or we do still have some here at City Hall as well. We are in the full swing of planning for budget, so we will have that done and prepared for council and to do the presentation on April 4th. So we invite everyone to come out to get a high-level view of the budget that'll also be accessible online. And then we will, of course, schedule budget workshops. So if you want to know more in detail of department by department and hear any of the questions and verifications of the budget, we will schedule budget workshops in May as well, and we invite you all to attend that to know more about the city budget. Mayor petitions are available now through April 25th. So if you're interested, please stop at the city clerk's desk or the clerk's office desk, and those petitions are available. And Ms. Robin Underwood, who's in the back, will certainly help you out. We have a PACE meeting coming up, the Public Safety and Community for Equality, before the next council meeting. So if you're interested in participating or joining that meeting, it's an incredible group, incredible conversations, and they bring out a lot of good resources from the county as well as within the city. And so again, they're trying to get more engagement in that organization, and so we've scheduled it before the next council meeting at 6 p.m. So if you're interested in attending, it's right here in council chambers prior to the next meeting on March 21st. We are still also going through the process with Planning Commission of updating our zoning ordinance. So if you're interested and have questions, it will be at the next Planning Commission meeting on April 6th, and then we'll make its way to City Council for review, additional questions, and then potential approval. With that, Mayor, if there are any questions that Mayor, you or Council have, I can certainly answer that.
Saying none, going to our Finance Director, Mr. Blum. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I think our city manager covered a whole bunch of stuff. We have been busy with budget. The only thing I wanted to bring up is we had some glitches with the last water bill. There were some read issues with some new MTUs, and approximately 40 homes got extremely large bills, between $7,000 and $14,000. They've all been caught and corrected, but I don't know if anybody has heard any complaints. But they have been identified and fixed. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, concerns? Saying none, going to our City Attorney, Mr. Albright. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. To address Ms. Hardcastle's comments during the audience participation, the public hearing regarding the alley vacation is going to take place at the next meeting. So members of the public will have an opportunity to appear here in City Council chambers and address any concerns to the council that they might have regarding the alley vacation. And then the council will vote on a motion thereafter the public hearing is conducted. Also, Madam Mayor, I've circulated several emails. The first relates to the opioid settlement update. I was able to speak with the settlement administrator who's been assigned to the city of Eastpointe. Her name is Adrian, and she advised me that her office does not have any restrictions on how the settlement proceeds can be distributed. The city does have reporting requirements. If the settlement proceeds are going to be used for something other than opioid remediation, then we're required to report to her office every 6 months. And so if that's something that the city wants to do, then they can just advise me whatever we decide to spend it on and make sure that we're in compliance by filing that form with the settlement administrator. With regard to the second check that we haven't received, she also informed me that there was a clerical error due to that second check. The checks did go out on February 24th, and so we should be getting that second check within the next week or so. And then I also asked her, as far as the schedule of payments, the City of Eastpointe will be receiving over the course of, now it'll be 16 years because they've already received payments for years 1 and 2. We'll be getting our next distributor's payment check in July of this year, and then after that we will receive the checks annually. And then with regard to the second type of check, they refer to it as the Janssen settlement check, we'll be getting that check beginning in 2026. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that. And I know Councilmember DeMonico did ask me what are the amounts. After I got off the phone with Adrian, I contacted her again to ask if the amounts would differ over the course of approximately the next 16 years, and I wasn't able to reach her, but I did leave a message. So I'll have more information at the next City Council meeting to provide to both the Council and members of the public. Council's also in receipt of an email that I sent regarding decriminalization of the building code cases. Back in 2020, the City Council passed several motions to decriminalize both parts of the property maintenance code, the rental ordinance, the nuisance ordinance, the rodent control ordinance, and also the littering ordinance. As it stands right now, violations of those sections are civil infractions. If the City Council wishes to further decriminalize those sections, I've included a proposed ordinance language that could be used if that's something that the Council wants to do. And Council's in receipt of our monthly status report. I'm happy to answer any questions. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Turn my mic on. I do have a couple quick questions. In looking over the information that you sent us, is there language in there for appeals of the civil infraction? Like I noticed under Ordinance 1192, that there is some appeal language in there if a person wanted to appeal the decision. So I guess what my first question is, let me backtrack a little bit. My first question is, can you give an explanation to council of the difference between a civil infraction versus a misdemeanor? And then the second question to that is, since it would be a civil infraction and not a misdemeanor, is there an appeals process like there is with like a speeding ticket? Like you can either pay the ticket or you can appeal it to court?
Yes, I'd be happy to answer that question. With regard to your first question, the difference between a civil infraction and a misdemeanor is a criminal violation. It carries potential jail time, whereas a civil infraction, it's akin to a parking ticket. The most that can happen to you is you can receive a fine. You can't be put in jail for a period of time. There's no incarceration whatsoever. There are appeal rights for both. So if somebody who receives a civil infraction ticket decides that they want to dispute that ticket and go in front of either the judge or magistrate over at the district court, they have a right to do so. They then have the right to require the prosecutor or the officer to then prove their case. The standard of proof is different. In a civil infraction case, it's by preponderance of the evidence because it's a civil matter as opposed to a criminal matter, whereas in a criminal case, in a misdemeanor, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. So if the officer or our office was able to meet our burden of proof in a civil infraction case, the person would be found responsible, not guilty, but responsible, and then they would be assessed a fine. If they wish to appeal that decision, they would have to post a bond for the amount of whatever the fine would be, and then that hearing then would take place. Generally speaking, I believe they're held over at the 40th District Court. So it goes to another court, another tribunal, to hear the case completely new all over again. Okay, that's essentially the same procedure that's followed in a misdemeanor case as well. If somebody is found guilty, they have a right to appeal that decision, and then that goes over to the 40th District Court.
So then one more question in that vein. How does the proposed process of changing it to a municipal infraction or civil infraction, municipal civil infraction, how does that reduce the backlog in the court system? Because that was kind of one of the end goal hopes of this, that if we can decriminalize it, then we don't have to jam up the court system with all of these cases.
Yeah, the main component of that would be is that if it's a civil infraction, a person does not have a right to a court-appointed attorney. They can still have they can hire their own attorney to represent them in the civil infraction case. But more importantly is it reduces the backlog because a person who is cited for a civil infraction does not have a right to an arraignment. If you're charged with a misdemeanor, you have a right to have the charges read before you. The judge posts the bond, then the matter would then get set for a pretrial. So that step in the process is completely eliminated if it's just a civil infraction. So it saves court time. It certainly eases the backlog of cases, and generally speaking, it's easier to resolve when it's just a civil infraction.
So is it possible then for council, and I'm really asking this more for the benefit of, is it possible then for council to have language drafted into the ordinance that would lay out for a potential defendant, these are your options. You can, like a speeding ticket or a parking ticket has that information. You can pay it, you can admit responsibility, or you can, come to court and plead your case. Is it possible for us to have some of that language put in there?
It would be possible. It's not common though, because those are rules of procedure that would that could be put, say for instance, in a pamphlet form and provided to people either here at City Hall or at the court. Perhaps more appropriately would be to have the steps set forth on the city's website. But generally speaking, those steps are not included in an ordinance. It could be included, but generally they're not.
So then would we include it in the information they get when they get the infraction, when they get notice of the infraction?
That could be, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our city attorney or ideas?
And thank you. Thank you.
Now we're going into new business, approval of the Department of Justice Grant Award. Council?
Mayor, actually, I guess I had a question real quick for Ms. Walton, maybe before. What was the difference between this recommended motion and what we motioned in October?
So this grant actually came out I believe in that same time frame, but we have not accepted the award. So we had a grant that was actually in that time frame for $66,000, if that's what you're referencing, but I don't believe that we've done a formal acceptance of this. I actually got notification from Patrick Fines that we hadn't officially accepted it.
It's one of the October meetings. We motioned to accept the 2022 BJA, Bureau of Justice Assistance fiscal year 2022 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for a total of $19,291.
I'd have to review the previous meeting, but this one that I still have from Patrick Fines wasn't formally accepted, so I wanted to make sure we did that before I went through that process.
Well, we'll double accept, I guess, maybe, potentially. I'll motion then that we accept the 2022 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for a total of $19,291.
Second.
Yes, please.
Is it possible for us to indicate as a part of our motion that since this is being given specifically with respect to use on community relations programs, safety, mental illness, staff, command, supervisory programs, it kind of gives a plethora of different things. Are we able to identify specific areas that we would like to see a portion of it go to? Are we able to specify?
Yes, so we applied for the grant for those areas, but if council would like to amend that motion with specific funding related to those categories, we certainly can do that.
I don't know if you would be willing to amend your motion, but one of my thoughts was that because of the significance and the seriousness of dealing with mental illness and safety and ensuring that our officers in particular who are dealing with that in their dealings have a good grasp and the reinforcement they feel like they need in dealing with citizens who suffer from mental illnesses and in ensuring the safety of the entire community, that we designate that 75% of this go towards that specific area of training. But that's just, I don't know if you would be willing to amend to that.
Sure, I mean, so I guess, what's the current percentage?
So we didn't list the percentage for all of them. We utilized the funding that was put in the current fiscal year's budget. So the current training budget for the police department is $38,235. Their training for this year is slated towards those categories. So there was nothing listed in the grant application of a percentage. But if council motions to utilize the 19,000 percentage for the 75%, we can do that.
I'll accept it. I guess we didn't maybe finish putting the motion on the floor. If not, yeah, I'll change my motion like Councilwoman Cobb Muniz said. I think it's certainly worth it. I know when I last reviewed the budget, I saw it'd probably be nice if it was much higher. So I think this will be helpful for sure. So then, I'll motion to accept the 2022 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant for a total of $19,291, with 75% of that amount towards mental illness things.
Second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Next item is discussion on continuation of Blue Rise Incorporated, the stand-up electric scooter sharing system agreement. This was brought up for discussion by Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Baker. Baker?
All right. Thank you. Well, really, just wanted to kind of see how council felt about continuing with Bird scooters. It's not necessarily that I'm saying get rid of them or keep them, but I know that there have been some complaints about scooters being left in the road. I've seen underage kids riding on the scooters, and I just was reflecting back on what they presented to us when they came before council, and they assured that you had to be 18 years of age or older. I know that there are people who utilize them that love them, so kind of wanted to see how the rest of council felt. I also talked with Mr. Albright. He had a recommendation, so, based off of the contract and the discussion. So, Mr. Albright, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation would be if the council has different concerns about the current scooter contract and these issues that have come up, just let me know what those are, and I'll put them in an email to the point person for Bird Scooter and say these issues need to be addressed. For instance, if there are minors riding the scooters, if the scooters are being left out in the middle of the street or places where they shouldn't be. Also, I think there has been a concern too about perhaps maybe the manager not being accessible as they originally promised. So again, those would be all concerns that I could bring up with the person that oversees that manager.
Is the contract still in effect since the MOU says that it ended January 1st?
It is. It's actually in effect through January 1st of 2024, but the city has the right to cancel that in the meantime if there are issues. And then it'll just continue on after January 1st of 2024 unless one or either of the parties notifies the other that they don't wish to continue.
So there's a different agreement than the one we received in the packet?
Yeah, and I basically just wanted to get a feel to try to see what the rest of council thought. Like, are you guys still interested in keeping the scooters, but trying to make sure that we at least do our part and try to reach out to them and say, hey, you guys offer this type of service. You said you would have somebody, I believe it was locally, that would tend to the scooters, make sure they're not left in strange places. I talked with our city manager about my concerns as well. And I know she said in some places some places use a docking system. So, I don't ride the scooters, I don't know, but I just kind of wanted to hear what everybody else thought, especially knowing that thinking that the contract was almost done. So that's pretty much it for me, so.
No, Councilman Curley.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. My concern is that when the administration gets a call from somebody that says that there's a scooter that's been here on the corner for 3 days. We don't know who the contact person is locally. We don't know if that contact person lives in Warren or St. Clair Shores or Roseville or Eastpointe. And administration is required to call California and say there's a scooter that's on such and such a street for 3 days, and then they call the local person to have it picked up. I, for the life of me, don't understand why we don't have that person's name that we can call whoever it is. Harvey Curley, we got a scooter there on 4th and whatever. It's ridiculous that the company out in California doesn't give us that information. And as the city attorney said, that he'll write that down as a list. But I think that's not something that we would say, gee, it would be nice if you would give it that. I think it would be absolutely, we need that without a doubt, without any controversy. We have to have that, because otherwise, and we don't get a report. I don't know how many scooters they're talking about. At any one day, how many scooters are laying around in the community? Is it 5, 25, 40? No one really knows. We did get a report tonight at our council table. Just to give you an idea, there were 876 people who utilized the scooter. And it was an average of 19 people who use a scooter each day from January 1st till December 31st of last year. So, and as far as the docking system is concerned, I don't know if anybody's going to explain that or not, but if they do, I can give you my reasons why I think it's not a good idea. But I think my most important thing is, council members, is to find out who that local person is. Or maybe there's more than one. But I don't understand why we can't call the president of the company and says, we want the names, period, or we're going to have a problem.
I agree. I think, do you want to speak, Councilwoman?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I guess one for either Mr. Albright or the city manager. Do we have the name of a local person from Byrd or no?
So Byrd is based out of California, and we have an account manager through Byrd that we work with and send our complaints to. That was a system that they created, that we submit notifications either through an application or we contact our account manager with any issues that we have. We do not have like a direct contact, and sometimes I know for sure they've had 2 or 3 changes with the local agent that was collecting the scooters, charging them, and placing them back out into the community. So I don't know of the consistency of the representative that's taking care of them, or if they cover multiple communities, or if it's just Eastpointe. So we don't have that specific information, but we do work with an account manager that is based in California.
Okay. And then
Can I ask about that? I thought, so is it not Garrett Gronowski? He had in the original slideshow, his email address was in that, are we not?
So Garrett is, I don't know if he's still with Byrd, but we have a new representative. His name is Nick Mitchell through Byrd.
And so we can't contact, he's not local though?
No, so when we did the initial review, we were on Zoom and he was zooming in from California. So Byrd is not local. They did join the chamber, which was nice, but Byrd is not local to Michigan. So they joined via Zoom previously, but we had a new account manager, which is Nick Mitchell, and that is who we contact with any issues. He is the one that actually sent the agreement over for this year, because I think he was of the belief as well that it was a 1-year agreement previously. But he's also who we send any issues to, and I've also sent information with a request after talking with Councilmember Curley about getting the contact information for the local representative that is charging the scooters and picking them up.
Yeah, I can't be certain, but I thought from that conversation we'd always have a local person, because I thought they were the one picking up the scooters too. But
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, and so they do the hiring and they manage that entire system. So they've, contacted, and sometimes they'll send check-ins. Initially, there was another woman that was with Byrd, I forget her name now, that we also sent concerns to, but they were the ones that individually reached out to the local representatives that were picking the scooters up.
And then Ms. Walton, do you know if our public safety director or the police have had any issues with the scooters?
Director, good evening.
Evening. The only issue that we heard is just basically just when people discard them, they just leave them in the middle of the sidewalks. That's it. Other than that, nothing about reckless use of them. It's just mainly they just, whoever's using them just dumps them anywhere. In front of the business fronts and near the corners where people can trip on them. But that's about it.
So, Madam Mayor, I'll just say one more thing and repeat myself. It's our city that the scooters are in. It's our police that have to check on things that in the middle of the street causes a hazard. So I think we need to contact California again, and I don't know, maybe the city attorney should call them. I don't know who should call them from the administration. But I think it's got to be, gee, we think we'd like to have the contact person because you just got to, how do I say this without, you just got to be tough. I cleaned that up. You got to be tough and say, we have to have the name of the person that picks these things up. We've got to be able to call them within minutes when somebody calls us to go out and alleviate the problem. And I don't care how many people they've had out in California that's supposed to be our contact person. That's 2,400 miles away. How can you solve a problem when your contact person is half a country away? You just can't do it. So that's it. I said enough.
Sounds good. You guys want to continue?
I'd like to add one.
Go ahead.
I think we discussed, I think I brought it up at that, one of the discussions on Bird. I thought we were planning on making like areas, not necessarily, I think like a docking station, but painting like areas where they should be leaving the scooters, or even in the app, I think they can make it so that they have to leave them at certain areas. So I think I had been just in Grand Rapids, and they have that there. You gotta take it to the painted area, leave it there, then it'll prevent it from being in the middle of sidewalks, hopefully. And hopefully we could just have enough of them where you're only walking, maybe from the corner of the major street to your house, or else, if it's too far away, it's defeating the point. But doing something like that, and working with them, I guess I didn't know. I thought we were originally doing that, but I guess I don't remember what we agreed to back then.
And if I can add, he did mention that, but one of the issues was wanting to wait to see kind of the statistics in Eastpointe and where the rides were. So he didn't want to do that in the first year of deploying them. He wanted to kind of get the statistics, know where the rides were and where it made the most sense of placing them. We haven't heard any feedback of where they'd like to do anything like that, but that's certainly something that we can touch base on.
Councilwoman?
Touch base on what, the docking system?
No, the painted spot. So they had highlighted in the presentation last year, they could highlight or create painted spots where the scooters are supposed to be hosted. Last year, they wanted to stay away or refrain from doing that until they had statistics on where the rides were and where the scooters were being picked up or left to be returned. And so now that they have that after the first year of deploying the Bird scooters, it'd be a good time to ask if that was something they were open to doing in Eastpointe.
Councilwoman, I know she wanted to finish her statement.
I wanted to hear from Mr. Curley about his thoughts on the docking station.
Oh,
Where you were headed.
Well, the docking station's been brought up twice now. As I understand it, talking to the city manager, and correct me if I'm wrong, the docking station would be, if I got a scooter at Kelly and 10 Mile Road, okay, and I want to go down to the Villa to have dinner, okay? The way we have it now, if we can find out who's supposed to pick them up, you shut it off, you leave it there, and the next day somebody comes and picks it up. That's the way it's supposed to work. But this docking system says, well, no, now that you've eaten dinner and you're there for 2 hours, you got to start the machine back up and go maybe a quarter of a mile or a half a mile at this docking station. More cost to you because now you're using a scooter, and that's where people would pick them up. Why do we have to make the onus on the the citizen. You paid your money to take it to the villa to have dinner. You put it outside, somebody from here, if we can find out who it is supposed to go and pick it up. So why would we have a docking station where you have to restart and then add another cost to you taking it to a docking system? I guess you can tell how I would vote if that ever comes up.
Well, I know all these concerns, we can talk to the city manager, will address that, and we can bring this back up. So we can, go ahead.
Make a motion to that extent?
I don't think we have to.
Need a motion?
Yeah, it was just put on as a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Next item is the introduction and first reading of ordinance number 23-1230, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 3, Code of Ethics of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Eastpointe.
So moved.
I wanted to, sorry, Council.
I can read it again.
No, I was going to speak on number 6, the thing that we're changing. It says the council may appoint special legal counsel upon the recommendation of the city attorney. I was thinking the council may appoint special legal counsel upon the recommendation of the city manager. The reason I said that is because the reason we are not using the the advice of our city attorney is because of conflict of interest. So we're using that same attorney to pick another attorney for us. So I'm thinking that it should be the city manager who chooses the city attorney. And also she can look into the fees of that city attorney who will be counseling the city as far as fees and things like that. To make sure we stay in budget. That was just my opinion. Also.
Madam Mayor, I think the intent of that ordinance language is not that our office is going to, if there is a perceived conflict of interest, that our office is actually going to select. It's for us to identify that there is a perceived conflict of interest and notify the council that we see this conflict of interest, and then from there follow council's direction as to how the council wants to proceed. If the council says, yes, we do want to select outside legal counsel, the council then could say, do you have a recommendation for a couple of different firms? We would be able to provide a couple of different firms. Council could interview those firms and decide to go with one or none of them. But that would be council's choice. But I think that language in there was more of, yes, we do see a conflict of interest. We have a duty to bring that to your attention, and we don't think that we can sit as legal counsel or legal advisor on the ethics board under the circumstances for whatever complaint has been brought before the ethics board.
So you're saying it would be employed on a more case-by-case basis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I
had one proposed amendment, though, for that same section, which is that it says the council may appoint special legal counsel upon recommendation of the city attorney, and I would like to suggest that we add, or upon request of the Board of Ethics upon majority approval of that board, so that if for some reason they feel as a board that they need to have legal representation other than the city attorney, that they could bring it forth. Once they've had a majority vote at their meeting, they could then bring that forth to city council so that the onus or the weight of that is just not on the city attorney. But if they as a board identify, you know what, we think there's a potential conflict here, or we feel like we need representation, that they could vote on that as a board and then come before council and request that they are provided with an attorney for legal advice. I say that having served on the Board of Ethics and having very much so encountered situations where we felt like we needed outside counsel, and it actually, turned out to benefit our efforts. So, and helped us to be able to have someone who could navigate and walk us through through the process without feeling that they had a conflict of interest because they also serve the interests of council, of the city council, so.
I think it should be left as is because when the ethics board was, when you were on the ethics board, the reason we had an additional counsel was because I recommended it. It wasn't because of the Board of Ethics, because it was a conflict of interest. The Board of Ethics did not see that it was needed. And then the person who had to come in front of the Board of Ethics, not only did we have to pay another, the city attorney, we had to pay another outside attorney, and then that person also had to pay for their attorney. So the reason the Board of Ethics bypassed the conflict of interest that the city attorney saw that it was needed because the mayor saw it was a conflict of interest. Nobody saw it was a conflict of interest but me. And
I'll agree to disagree
That's fine.
on that. I can tell you, and there's another Board of Ethics member here, but, there was more than one occasion, at least during my tenure on the Board of Ethics, when we had issues that came up where we questioned whether or not there was a conflict and not that Mr. Albright did not have the legal expertise to provide us with services. But because he does represent the interests of council, if a member of council is brought before the Board of Ethics, it puts him in an untenable situation. It puts the Board of Ethics in a compromised situation because they may have questions that they want to be able to ask, that they don't feel free to be able to ask, that they could ask of an attorney that does not have that conflict of interest. And so I know, at least from my perspective, as having been the prior chair on that board, that I asked questions about our representation, about us having effective counsel. And that's not a shade at all to Mr. Albright's legal abilities. It really just goes back to ensuring that when the board is making decisions, they are able to get the legal representation that they need, even behind closed doors, even in closed session, be able to have conversations that would not present a conflict of interest for them or for the attorney.
either we amend it or not, it still has to be approved by council. So let's move right along.
Can I comment on that?
Of course you can.
I think, well, at least when we were talking about this ordinance, essentially bringing back the Board of Ethics, we had it for a while, then it was removed, and we essentially brought it back with that last ordinance. I don't think, at least it wasn't my intention, or I don't know if anyone else, and I don't think we even discussed it, that the Board of Ethics would ever need an attorney or should need an attorney. What should happen is our attorney, he can certainly identify that there's a conflict for the scenario discussed before, but he should be giving advice to the board on how they can make a decision, or if they have a specific question, he can answer that. He's not going to weigh in on one side or the other, regardless, I guess, of if there is a conflict or not. He's not, with his best intention, he's not, he would just be giving advice just to the board. So I never foresaw a reason that we should be hiring an attorney at all for the Board of Ethics, I guess. So I guess I'll agree to disagree also along the line here.
I will say this, there are other municipalities that have dedicated legal representation just for their Board of Ethics. And so clearly there is a need for that. And when you're dealing with ethical violations of elected officials or someone even making the assertion of that, that's very serious. No elected official wants to be put in that position, and no board wants to go into a situation like that ill-advised or under-advised. So, anyway, I'll leave that there.
We have a motion on the floor. We have support. have no support. And the motion,
Had support yet?
I'm sorry?
I don't think we had support yet?
No, we haven't.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have, we have a motion, no support.
I'll support the motion, and then I had one more question after that, I guess, one more item.
Okay, motion and support, please call the roll.
Wait, hold on, one more item.
Oh, you want to add something to that? Okay, go ahead.
On the other part, the fee schedule, though, I think, well, I called Mr. Albright, if you want to just say, because it's blank there, we just have at the end, fee schedule is a placeholder. So, yeah, I guess just attention to that.
Happy to address that. So the reason I included the fee schedule section in there is in some sections of our code of ordinances, it'll refer to the actual fee schedule by providing the section number. So that way somebody looking at this can then go to the fee schedule in the code of ordinances. It's more of a quick reference. Not all of our ordinances have that. So I didn't know if that's something that the city council wanted in this ordinance amendment or just leave it out. So that's why it just reads 2-105 fee schedule with nothing, there's no language that follows that.
I'm actually glad that you brought that question forward because I had that highlighted as one of my questions too. What is the fee schedule? So I think it's a necessary inclusion.
Did you have recommended, like, language to include or amounts? Should we just bring it forward for a second vote at some point then for that part?
I think so.
Would you recommend we just include the section now, leave it as is, Mr. Albright, in the agenda packet, and then we can come back and visit it and fill it in?
What I can do is I'll check one of the other ordinance sections and I'll bring out the duplicate language, and for the second reading, that language will appear in the agenda packet.
Good. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
No.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Item D, the request by Downtown Development Authority to purchase the Children's Garden and public parking lot. Council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sale of the properties known as the Children's Garden and the adjacent public parking lot to the Downtown Development Authority for $1. The properties are further identified as the Children's Garden Assessors Plat Number 15, Lot 232, Liber 22, page 20, commonly known as 22540 Gratiot Avenue, parcel ID number 02-04-31-128-004, Ethylene Court Public Parking Lot, Cutler Subdivision, lots 9 and 12, including lot 13, excluding W 10-foot, I think that's what that means, parcel ID 02-14-31-128-002, and to further authorize the city manager to execute all documents necessary to complete the transaction.
I'm so glad you read that.
Yeah, I'll second.
I'm so glad. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Can we, okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
that was a long motion. And I'm thinking that there's not a person sitting here knows what we're talking about. And this is a huge step. It's exciting, it's great, but they don't know what we're talking about. So before we call the roll, if it's all right, if the city manager can give a explanation on what we're going to do, please?
You want Ms. Holman to do it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Whoever.
Yeah, Ms. Holman, please do the honors, because I know you've been doing that project for a while. We want to give you the honor and talking about that. Thank you.
Well, our Downtown Development Authority Board has been very, very active in the past number of years, even during COVID. They were able to receive a number of grants for the Children's Garden as well as for a proposed marketplace to be put in the public side of the parking lot behind the library. They received, and the DDA has also been handling the maintenance of both snow and lawn removal in the garden, but they received a Greater Metropolitan Area Realtors Grant for money to redo the garden directly in front of the mural, a Mayor's Innovative Project and AIA money and technical assistance from architects to create ideas for a physical marketplace where we would put permanent coverings over the parking spaces that would serve as parking spaces during the day and as vendor booths on the weekends, where we would have farmers markets, art fairs. The library is very, very involved in having educational opportunities for families, and also musical events there. We also got a county placemaking grant. There will be a total of about probably almost $20,000, and many of these grants include matching funds from the DDA, so there will be permanent public art installed in the garden, and it was going to be under construction this spring for really revision for a family gathering place. So we are very excited about this, and there's a lot of effort, and we hope everybody will put up with our dirt during construction, but then come and learn about. We were going to be butterfly certified, and we also are hoping that we can partner with the library and maybe even Urban Seed and start some beehives in the various places to support the bee population.
Thank you. I think Councilman DeMonico, that was one of you. I want to say something.
Thanks. I guess, thank you, Ms. Homan, for that. Yes, we have fortunately received a lot of money for that area over there, and especially love the DIA mural. Why, I guess just mainly my question is, why do we need to go through all this effort to do this? Because right now the city owns it and then the DDA owns it. I mean, it's really, to me, both the city, of course still publicly owned, and then I guess if we did that, say down the road, I guess probably the biggest question that comes to mind would be like, say when it needs to be repaved, how would the DDA be able to repave the parking lot? Their annual budget's like, $120,000 per year. I was just curious about that aspect. Or Ms. Walton, whoever,
Thank you. So the DDA is very involved. I also want to highlight Ms. Homan, which she's going to hate, but she also spends a lot of her weekends in the summer actually here in the city gardening the children's garden, planting things. Sorry, I have to say, because we really appreciate it, that area looks incredible, has had a lot of investment, and a lot of it is because of your hard work and dedication to the community and coming and going above and beyond. And to highlight Councilmember DeMonico, your question, part of selling to the DDA is to allow the DDA, because it is in the DDA, to maintain that property and also see that project through. So right now, being a city property, it would have to be something that the city oversees, that the city maintains, and we feel that it would be most appropriate to sell that property to the DDA. The DDA also has funding to pay for a part-time employee, so for a farmer's market, it does take staffing to man that. Our hope is that once that is all built, that we can actually hire somebody and pay them from the DDA funding, of course with their approval, to maintain that, to run programming on the weekends, and then to also participate in the cleanup and really drive investment into that area. And so having a DDA, which is a downtown development authority, it's providing that property to the authority to make those decisions on what should be happening in that area. There are also funding opportunities. Actually, Mayor, you sent one out today from MML that is specific to authorities. There's also other grant opportunities that are specific to authorities that they would be eligible for, as Ms. Homan stated with the grants from Macomb County Planning. Those aren't necessarily for like full city operations, but a lot of times for authorities that are driving investment and development into those areas.
Thank you. So for when, years down the road that the parking lot needs to be repaved, I mean, is the city will be paying for it then? and not
Our
the
hope is,
DDA?
our hope is that we have enough revenue from all of the work that is going into it and driving investment into that area, that it is something that the DDA can cover. They did have actually a profit, again, to Ms. Holman's efforts and dedication in driving revenue and investment into that area, and increasing the revenue. Randy would probably have the number, into that fund, and something that they haven't seen in several years. So our hope is that when maintenance needs to happen, that the DDA can cover that. It is something that they have been covering, and we identified, we do pest maintenance in that area, which it's technically city property, but the DDA was able to actually fund that because we weren't aware that it was city property for quite some time. And so that was corrected, but the city or the DDA has been and is able to maintain that property at this time.
Anything else?
I just want to add, first of all, thank you to Ms. Holman for all of your hard work. I'm excited about the prospect of adding something central to the downtown area for families, since we are a family town, and adding something that would not just be for families with small children, but would be inclusive of the entire community, especially when you're talking about bringing in a farmer's market and then having it attached to the property of the library. That's going to drive more traffic in there. So I think it's an exciting opportunity. And I'm, of course, a lover of the DIA, so just the involvement from an artistic standpoint. And I want to say I also have a lot of confidence in what the DDA would even be able to do with Ms. Holman's involvement, along with Ian's involvement, because she's our former economic development director and he is our current. And so I think you have two forces there that are now able to go out and identify additional funding that can keep us from, even when it comes to repavement down the line, hopefully we don't have to have a long extended year plan for that, but hopefully they can find funding for the authority that maybe the municipality would not have access to. And so thank you for bringing this before council.
Anyone else would like to speak at this time? I think we have motion and support on the floor. If we do, please call the roll.
Do we have support?
I supported it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
No.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
Item E, approval of attendance of Councilmember DeMonico for the upcoming 2023 MML Capital Conference, April 18th through the 19th, 2023. Council.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Yes.
Item F, approval of MML Elected Officials Academy Advanced Weekender Training for Councilmember DeMonico in Bay City, Michigan, May 19th through the 20th, 2023. Council.
So moved.
A second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Yes.
Next item is the appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals, the ZBA. And let me get to this page. And I will be recommending the appointment to the ZBA for Ed Williams, term to expire May 15th, 2024.
So moved.
A second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for your service. Nice. Next, item H, appointment to the Assessment Board of Review. And this is, Councilmember Cobb Muniz is requesting the council to approve the recommendation for appointment to the Assessment Board for Walter Martin, term to expire March 15th, 2025. Council?
So moved.
A second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Thank you for your service. Item I, appointment to the Parks Commission. DeAndre Easley, term to expire October 15, 2024. Council.
Mayor, I will make this motion, but I did have a chance to speak with her because I know that some concerns had been addressed.
Okay.
And she told me what she had going on during, previous. And she said she had some trouble with Zoom. I'm one of them guys, if you tell me, I'm going to take you at your word until you show me otherwise. And I know it's been a couple years, so I would move that we appoint DeAndre Easley to the Parks Commission with a term to expire 10/15/2024.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
No.
Mayor Owens?
Yes. Item J is appointment to the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission, ACDC. I am requesting that council approve the following recommendation for the appointment of Lakita Cobb, term to expire October 15, 2023. Council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and support. It's Women's Month. Let her have it.
She got it. She got it.
Let her have it. I think she won anyway.
Yeah, she got it.
Yeah. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Next item K, appointment to Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission for Renita Phillips. New appointment to fill vacancy, the term to expire October 15, 2023.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Item L, the reappointment to the Beautification Commission for Sine Mural, term to expire October 15, 2025.
So moved, rather. So moved.
I
Motion,
will second that.
motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley?
Yes.
Next item M, reappointment to the Beautification Commission is Pamela Russell to expire 10/15/2025.
So moved.
That's it.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes, thank you all who were appointed and reappointed for your service.
Mayor,
Again.
if I may, both the ACDC staff liaison and me as beautification really appreciate this. These are fun commissions, and we appreciate the interest and looking forward to moving ahead with big projects.
Thank you. And those that are in the audience that were appointed or are on the board, again, thank you for your service.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I had one quick item I forgot to bring up. I think for the Parks Commission for Ms. Easley, should be a term to expire 2025, not 2024. I think
Okay.
all three terms were ended in 2022, so I don't know if
Okay.
maybe next meeting, I guess we could just fix that if
Yeah.
that's confirmed. I'm pretty sure. I meant to bring it up then.
Okay, I should look into it. Thank you. Item N, the approval of special event application for the Military Museum Annual Car Show, June 13, 2023. Council.
Mayor, I'll move we approve the special event for the Military Museum Annual Car Show on June 13th, 2023.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Next item is payroll and bills. Council.
Madam Mayor, I would move that the payment of the bills for $1,876,835.03.
I'll second that.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Next is the hearing of the public. If you didn't get to finish what you had to say, or you want to restate what you had to say in the first hearing of the public, the second hearing of the public is now open.
Hi there, Linda Flans, Eastpointe resident. I just wanted to say on the bird scooters, St. Clair Shores does have designated boxes along Jefferson, and I believe along Mac, which I think helps organize their scooters. And I would hope that we would get something like that here, because I do think the scooters being thrown everywhere around the sidewalk is a hazard. So that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
Larry Edwards, Eastpointe resident. I'd like to, there's, in the first hearing, there was a lot of venting going on, so I'm going to vent as well. In regarding to vexing, people need to vex the, who they vote for in, to that situation. But I'd like to address the approval of the marijuana situation. I hate I wasn't here, and I don't know what the public's involvement in it was and what have you, but I think it was a very bad idea to approve this and what have you. You know, we have a lot of people in the deep state, some people that sleep, a lot of people that can make good decisions and trying to make decisions for others and what have you. I see a specialist, one of the top in the country, for glaucoma, and I asked him in regard to this situation and marijuana, and he looked at me kind of surprised because he know how I feel on that and what have you. But he said I would have to be smoking it all day in order to have any effects. If there is some evidence of it making a difference and what have you. But the body was not designed for smoking. If it was, God would have put a chimney somewhere on your body and what have you. But we take the advice of any old quack, any of these here old mad science, demonic scientists, and we'll go with it. And then when money is involved, we all in and what have you. And it's no secret that money can buy anything and get approved for anything and what have you. A lot of people have life have been messed up behind when this wasn't legal, and now all of a sudden it's legal. Why? There's money to be made off of it now and what have you. And so everything is hunky-dory. Everything looks okay now. Let's go with it now and everything. Let's make it legal. I ride motorcycles as well as in my car and what have you. I have to deal with people on drugs. I have to deal with people on medicine. I have to deal with people on all kind of, their minds gone and all kind of things and what have you. And to have people out here dealing with all kind of dope and drugs and all this and what have you, it's totally unsafe and what have you, as well as the other effects of what it's doing to the brain. And what have you. We don't want to look at all this stuff. We don't have critical thinkers anymore. And what have you. Everybody just go along to get along, or just go along with what's being told.
Time is up, sir. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak at this time?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would just like to say thank you for getting that Kmart trash, getting somebody out there to clean that trash out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak?
Karen Morajan, still Eastpointe resident. So I was looking at the agenda, as the meeting progressed, and I'm just not seeing the issues on our agenda that need to be addressed. There's just there's so many problems going on. You know, I touched on it during the first public comment period about people blowing through the stop signs, you know, and they even see that there are drivers coming in the opposite direction, and they just look at you and they just keep going like, hey, you don't even exist. This is bad. This is really bad. Something has to be done. You know, and I guess now we have to wait a few more months before we can get those trailers on the streets, you know, give them the digital readout with how fast people are going, because the side streets, you know, they're treating them like racetracks. And, you know, with all the inclement weather that we've been having, I do have to give credit to DPW. They were on the ball big time with all those huge tree branches broken off, laying in the middle of the streets. They did a great job. And they even cleaned it up off of neighbors' lawns instead of like, well, only if it's in the street. And speaking of senior neighbors, you know, do we even have anything? Or can we, you know, Director Rohib, can we get some of the police officers to help out the senior neighbors in regards to, you know, snow removal? I've got a neighbor who has all kinds of health issues, and, you know, she was really sick and she was out there trying to shovel snow on Saturday. And I'm really concerned about my senior neighbors. Do we have volunteers? What do we have to help support our senior neighbors? You know, and I can't stress enough about the animals. I mean, I know we're supposed to get a part-time animal control officer, but there's so much more the city needs to do for the animals. And the first thing is people have got to stop leaving their animals roaming loose in the streets, the cats, the dogs, you know. I mean, they're a responsibility and you have to take care of them. They are a lifetime commitment. You just cannot make excuses to dump them. And I'm gonna give a plug for our city attorney and keep you even busier, that you know, you can assist our residents in drawing up legal documents. So if anything happens and they wind up in the hospital or they die, at least the animals won't end up in the shelter. There will be a designated person to take care of them.
Time is up, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak at this time? Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Raymond Clayton, resident of Eastpointe. I'd just like an update on what's going on with the park, Kennedy Park. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but what is going on with our DTE energy bill that increases, is supposed to be between the hours of, I think they said something like 3 to 7 o'clock. I don't know if that's upcoming, but are you aware of it? Is it going to affect how you're going to increase our bill? And I'm also behind the gentleman who said, we don't need no more weed houses in here. You already got enough pharmaceuticals outside of the city. That's all we need, is that stuff running around here. And for anybody that voted for that, I am totally against it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. Terry Lynn, Riverdale, Michigan. Hello to everyone. So people want to say whatever they want to and talk to the mayor however they want, like she's not human, like she is not a mother, and also like she hasn't done anything for the city. She never said anything about the elderly. That was me, so make sure you write that down. I said that no matter what age you are, you should learn how to respect leadership. And to be a certain age, you're expected to be better and to be more. I applaud you, Mayor Owens, for dealing with almost 6 years of being disrespected
and not saying anything, and the one time you do, you get bashed and it goes viral? Do all the other great things you did go viral? Nope, because everybody was negative. Also, I don't understand. Half of y'all in the audience see how they treat her, and y'all don't say anything. Speak up for the people who speak up for you, and wake up. Oh my God.
Anyone else? Seeing none. Second hearing of a public is now closed. Going to Mayor and Council report, starting with Councilman DeMonico.
Thanks, Mayor. First, I wanted to apologize last meeting for getting a little irritated, or getting irritated during the Board and Commission Employee Award discussion. So wanted to apologize to everybody for that. We had the Beautification Commission Landscape Awards on March 1st, and we honored 4 different properties in the city. Thank you, Councilwoman Cobb Muniz, for coming out. Good to see you there. That was a good event like usual, and if you can, make it out next year. Well, it got pushed because of snow initially. Try to do it in January, February, when everyone's not out taking care of their lawns, and hopefully have time, but then, you know, we get lots of snow, thanks Michigan. March 11th, this Saturday, Representative Kimberly Edwards will be having a 12:30 event at the library called The Stigma, about mental health. So if you are interested in that topic, come on out to the library on Saturday and meet her if you haven't. That'll be a good event. And then at the Military Museum the next day, they'll be doing a lecture called Dogfight Over Tokyo at 2 p.m. So if you can make it out to that, make it out to that. And also another item at the Military Museum will be on the 20th. That's a Monday at 6 p.m. will be the next Memorial Day Parade meeting. So if you can make it out, come out, help us out. Or again, like I've said in other meetings, if you know a group or something that would like to take part in the parade, let me know, let any of us know. If you're part of a group, come on out. You know, let's make this a bigger parade this year than last year. And yeah, happy Women's History Month, and happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Crowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As usual, here I go again. Your returnable bottles and cans, take them to the library. The Friends of the Library use that money to buy things for the kids, and they're doing quite well this year. But, you know, if you have 10 cans at home, that's, what's that, $1? But added to the library, another 1,000 cans, that amount of money that they have is really growing. So thank you so far that you have so far. And if you don't want to take the stuff to the library, bag it up, put it on the porch, and give me a call, and I'll drive by and pick it up. Then the other thing, Madam Mayor, I'm going off the record. This is about me, but I'm celebrating, and I want to share that with you. A month ago, I went to my primary doctor because my right knee was really hurting really bad. And she said, well, let's take a couple x-rays, and we did. And I went back in the office, and she says, oh, you got bone on your right knee, and I need to give you a telephone number and address of a surgeon, one of the best in the country, that they'll take a look at your knee and replace it. So I had to wait a month until this last Friday, and I went to the doctor at Cottage Hospital, and my wife and I sat in the room, and he comes in. He said, hi, I'm Melvin. How are you? And he said, we took some x-rays, so let's take a look. And he said, oh, a lot of cartilage in that right knee. I said, is there any bone on bone? He says, no, there's no bone on bone. So he said, but I tell you what we do. It's too early for an MRI. We don't need to do that, but I'm going to give you a shot. Ugh, I hate shots. That's a long story. I'll tell you about that when I gave platelets for 14 years. Anyway, he gave me a shot, and he said, by the time you get out to the parking lot, it's going to feel better, and by the time Sunday comes and you go to church, it's going to be like it was 20 years ago, and that's the truth. So right now, I have no pain, so it looks like when I do a lot of walking this summer, I'm going to be able to walk without limping. So that's my joy.
Councilwoman, happiness.
I want to say we had a great state of the city this past week. Is that right? I'm losing track of days. With some awesome updates from Judge Galen, from our superintendent of schools, and our mayor. It's wonderful to see the things that are happening in our city. Also, there are lots of great things happening in the month of March, and I just want to highlight a couple of those. One is that March 5th through the 11th, this week is National Consumer Protection Week. And the Inspector General for the Social Security Administration has designated March 9th as National Slam the Scam Day. And so it's a campaign to really push for people to not get scammed by scammers who call portraying themselves to be from the federal government. And so if you'd like more information about that, I'd encourage you to either look at the Federal Trade Commission or at the Social Security Administration Inspector General's page to get some information on how to prevent your loved ones from being scammed, how to prevent yourself from being scammed by these callers. Also, CARE of Southeast Michigan has a couple of upcoming events this month. They have 2 film series that they'll be showing, one on March 14th at 5:30, which is Our American Family, and then on March 24th at 1 p.m. they'll be showing Love in the Time of Fentanyl. So if you are interested in more information about that, please go and check it out at their website. March is Women's History Month, and it is also National Reading Month, and I'm super excited about that. One of my favorite authors wrote in his book, 1 Timothy 4:13, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, and to doctrine. And then Nelson Mandela went on to say, when we read, we are able to travel to many places, meet many people, and understand the world. Be a lifelong student and read as many books as possible. And so to that end, I'm looking forward to the opportunity that I have this week and next week to read to the classes at Pleasant View Elementary on the 10th and at Forest Park Elementary on the 14th. And I want to say a special thank you to our director of the library, Sue Todd, who put together some material for me to take over to the students to just encourage them to visit their local library. And I want to say, as a family that has patronized our local library, it is so important that we encourage our children to read. When they know how to read, everything else comes easy. As an educator, I can tell you, once I got my children to learn how to read, math and everything else became easy. So please engage your children in reading. If you have young children, start reading to them when they're in the womb and from then on, because once they pick up that fundamental of reading, it brings life to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I too get to read at Forest Park this week, so I'm happy about that. I always love reading to the kids there. They're just, it's a good time. Second thing I wanted to say, I know I usually do a word of the day type of thing, but if I have a word is seeds. A word is seeds. If we want to grow the fruits of peace and respect, we must first plant the seed. When we plant the seed and tend the garden, and we must tend the garden where the seeds are planted. Oftentimes, when we properly tend to this garden, we harvest more fruit than the number of seeds planted. If you want respect, give it. If you want peace, put it out there. It's easy for us, anybody, and this is not pointed at anyone in particular. We can always point a finger at what somebody else should be doing, what we don't see someone else doing. The first thing that we should do, this is what I practice, is I look at myself. What am I doing? Am I trying to go out into this world to make it better than the day before? Am I doing something to try to help someone's day be better? Despite whatever I may be going through, am I trying to be a peaceable person, a respectable person? Do I try to show love? If I want to see the fruits grow, if I want to see them produce, I have to plant those seeds. I have to tend that garden, and then I can yield more than what I planted. Lastly, I want to say to my son, Rob Jr., happy 23rd birthday. He is an awesome and very respectable young man, very proud to be his father. Very proud. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem / Pastor Baker.
That's not my call.
I don't know. So I'm just gonna say thank you to everyone that attended the State of the City. It was phenomenal. That was my second one since I've been elected in office, because when I got elected, then COVID came, so we didn't have one after 2 years. And so it was nice to have people actually in person and actually talking to the state, had someone for the state representative office, our Congressman John James' office came out to support our executive, and also our new state senator as well, Ms. Kleinfeld, and a host of people that were there to support. Last time we had about the same amount of people. It was almost close to almost 100 people, so that was nice. So next time we have one next year, I invite the residents to see what the mayor and the staff and administration, so many other people, as far as our superintendent and also our judge has to say about our community. You live here, see what's going on here. So I'm going to say thank you all for coming out. I love you as the mayor. I always pray for my residents. Whether you like me or not, I'm going to pray for you anyway. That's what leadership does. So I say that to say, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
I second.
adjourn. In support, please call the roll.
Was that Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley?
Meeting adjourned. Have a blessed one, everyone.